Welcome back to Module 2. In our last session, we talked about the happy factor, the scientific proof that retirees with guaranteed income are happy and live longer. Today, we're going to lay out the first and most critical brick in that foundation, Social Security and guaranteed income. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, Jeff, Social Security is going broke. I need to grab my money as soon as I can, as soon as I turn 62, before the government takes it away. I hear this fear every single day, but acting on that fear is often the single most expensive mistake a retiree can make. In this module, I want to challenge you to stop treating Social Security as a savings account you need to raid before it's gone. Instead, I want you to see what it's truly for, longevity insurance. Think about it. It's likely the only asset that you own that is tax advantaged, backed by the federal government, and most importantly, inflation adjusted for the rest of your life. If you live to be 95 or 105, that check keeps coming and it keeps growing. My friend Tom Hegna calls maximizing this benefit step 2 of a secure retirement for a reason. The math is undeniable. By the time that you claim, simply waiting, you can secure a guaranteed 8% annual increase for every year. Ask yourself, where else can you get an 8% risk-free return in today's market? In this video, we're going to look at the numbers. We're going to debunk the break-even myth, and most importantly, I'm going to show you how to build an income bridge so you can retire early without sacrificing the maximum benefit you deserve. So let's get to work. In Module 1, we changed how you think about retirement. We moved from assets to income. Now we start building, because retirement income doesn't happen by accident. It's designed. When you build a house, you don't start with the roof. You don't start with the kitchen. You start with the foundation. If the foundation isn't solid, everything else feels unstable. Retirement is the same way. In this module, we're building your income floor. This is the income that covers your essential expenses: housing, food, utilities, insurance, healthcare. These are the bills that must be paid no matter what the market does. When these expenses are guaranteed, you sleep better. You stop checking markets daily. You stop worrying about downturns because your lifestyle isn't hanging on volatility. And for most Americans, Social Security is the cornerstone of this foundation. It's one of the only true lifetime inflation-adjusted income streams available. Yet many people make claiming decisions without understanding the long-term impact. In this module, we'll talk about how to think about Social Security strategically, not emotionally, not reactively, strategically. We're going to answer 3 big questions. How much income do you truly need? What does Social Security actually provide? And how do we close any remaining gap? Once that income floor is built, everything else becomes easier. You don't build confidence by hoping markets cooperate. You build confidence by securing the foundation first. So let's start building. Now, let's reconnect this to the bigger picture. This is the full structure again, the Sure Horizon retirement income strategy that I helped to develop and have worked with clients using for the last 30 years. Total retirement savings divided intentionally into 3 jobs. But in this module, we're focusing on just one. The left side, the essential expenses, is the foundation. This is where we build your guaranteed income. This is what I call your paychecks. Paychecks are not optional income. They're not lifestyle income. They're the money that you must have show up every single month for as long as you live. Housing, food, utilities, insurance, healthcare. These are non-negotiable. And where do these paychecks come from? Social Security, pensions, and income annuities. Any structured, reliable lifetime income source. There's and these are all designed to last to life expectancy, not 5 years, not 10 years, for life. Now, the discretionary and growth pools, we'll get to those, but growth doesn't really matter if your foundation isn't stable. We solve certainty first. This is income first planning and action. Before we worry about returns, we worry about reliability. Before we talk about upside, we eliminate downside risk to the essentials. In this module, we're going to walk through how to calculate your essential expenses, how Social Security fits into the plan, how to determine whether there's a gap, and then how to close it. You don't build retirement on hope, you build it on paychecks. So let's build yours. Now, let's pause for a moment and remember why we're doing this. This isn't about theory. This isn't about preference. There's real research behind this. Time magazine highlighted what retirement researchers have found repeatedly. Happiness levels are significantly higher when retirees have guaranteed lifetime income, not when they have the biggest portfolio, not when the markets are up, when income is predictable. When income depends entirely on investments, anxiety rises. When a base level of income is guaranteed, happiness rises. And that's what we're building right now. We're not chasing upside. We're building stability, because stability changes behavior. It changes how often you check your accounts. It changes how you react to headlines and market activity. And most importantly, it changes how you sleep. And that's why this module starts with this essential pool. Now, today, we're going to focus on the first and most important pillar inside that pool, Social Security. Too many people view Social Security as an investment account they want to raid as soon as possible. This is the wrong mindset. As we discussed in Chapter 8 of my book on Social Security, this is longevity insurance. It's the one and only asset you'll ever own that is a tax-advantaged, guaranteed by the government, and crucially adjusted for inflation, COLA, for the rest of your life. And as of the recent tax law changes, some changes around the tax that you even pay on this. You used to have to pay, depending on how much income you earned, up to 85% of the Social Security income you received, you had to pay tax on. That's changed with the new One Big Beautiful Bill Act of 2025. Now, the math is powerful. If you claim at 62, you take a permanent pay cut, roughly 25 to 30% less than your full benefit. However, for every year that you wait past your full retirement age, up to age 70, your benefit grows 8% per year. That's a guaranteed 8% increase. Ask yourself, where can you find a guaranteed risk-free 8% return in the markets today? You can't. If you come to me and ask me, Jeff, hey, can I get an 8% guaranteed return? I'm going to tell you you're crazy, because there's really nothing that's that high with a riskless guarantee. So by delaying, you're eventually buying a larger inflation-proof pension that gets adjusted for inflation every single year. Now, stop trying. This is the other big thing that I find is people that are obsessed with trying to calculate what their break-even age is. So stop trying to calculate your break-even age. That's the age that you die where you beat the system. That's death planning. We're doing life planning here. My friend and mentor, Tom Hegna, teaches that longevity risk is a risk multiplier. Living longer than expected compounds inflation risk and market risk. Social Security is an insurance against living to 95 or 100. If you die at 68, you don't need the money. But if you live to 95, that maximized check at age 70 will be a lifesaver when your other assets might be running low later in life. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jeff, what if it goes bankrupt? It's true. The system faces unfunded obligations after 2035. over $200 trillion by some estimates. However, bankruptcy doesn't mean the checks stop. It means benefits might be reduced if Congress does nothing. But even a reduced guaranteed check is better than no check. But here's the reality of it. Can you imagine being the politicians in office at the time who allow Social Security to have to reduce benefits while telling people who are currently in the working world, you have to keep paying into the system? Don't make permanent decisions claiming early based on temporary political problems. Plan for the probability, not just the fear. Now, I hear you saying, but Jeff, I hate my job. I want to retire at 62. Well, you can, but that doesn't mean you have to claim Social Security. We use a bridge strategy here. You retire at 62, but instead of turning on Social Security, we withdraw from your 401k and IRA to pay your bills. So we may be withdrawing a little bit more from those early on and then switching on the Social Security check later on. You spend down your volatile assets, stocks and bonds, and let your guaranteed asset, Social Security, grow by 8% a year. You're effectively transferring wealth from the maybe bucket to a guaranteed bucket at that time. Now, if you're married, claiming early is often a mistake for your spouse. When one spouse dies, the household drops one check, the higher of the two. If the higher earner claims at 62 and then dies, they've left the survivor with a permanently reduced check for the rest of their life. Maximizing the higher earner's benefit is essentially buying a life insurance policy for the surviving spouse. Now, let's talk about your homework for this module. Your homework is to perform a gap analysis as described in Chapter 11 of my book, Retirement Income Equation. You're going to list your monthly essential expenses. You're going to log into socialsecurity.gov and list your expected Social Security income, and then also look up and see if you have any pensions. Subtract the income from the expenses. If the number is negative, income is less than expenses, you have a gap. In the next module, we'll discuss how to fill that gap using the third pillar, income annuities. We'll see you there.